two ends of the spectrum where it's the extremely masculinized man and then there's the extremely feminized man. I think a lot of people wouldn't fit into the two extremes. Though because the two extremes are not only idolized, but they're publicized and they're given a stage and they're given a platform that's like rights of belonging. There used to be times where men would be initiated into being a man, from a boy to a man, and now those initiations have been replaced by an image of what it means to be either of the two extremes. Here we want to not be the extremes, we want to be the harmony.
Welcome to the first episode of Rudigent. My name is Brendan, and this is our routine. And we created this channel because we saw a gap in the evolutionary identity of the divine masculine in today's day and age.
Yeah, we hear of a lot of men experiencing shame and guilt about the identity of what it means to be a man in the world. Rudigent is the bridge to take you to a fresh understanding of what it means to be a divine masculine and a man in the current times.
Today, we're going to talk about the theme of healing the divine masculine. How this usually works is we have 3 deep prompt questions that we ask ourselves, and that helps us open up to clear truths through our experiences over time. What does being a man mean to you today? When you put it in quotes, like being a man, like if someone asked you that on the street, how would you respond to that? When you asked me this when I was like probably 14 or 15, even 25, 28 years old, I'm 33 now, being a man to me in the old way was holding it all together, right? Not showing vulnerability, like not showing emotion, keeping it all together and not being fragile.
Acting without emotion. They're sort of like numb to pain and just the daily grind, and they're in this evolution of creating more for the family and creating a stable ground, I think, for the children to be raised in, and it's this like linear way of what it means to be a man.
I think it's been linear for thousands of years too. And I think that's what we're here to bring forward is what does man and masculinity mean now with all the turbulence, the chaos right now, and leadership amongst the world around the globe.
Yeah, we talked about the palm tree. The
palm tree, right. And we'll get into that soon. But yeah, for me, I think like being a man, I was raised in the Midwest and I grew up in a pretty suburban lifestyle. And when outside looking in, I had a really good childhood. But at the same time, I'm catching on to conditions that I was taught early on that have been basically aren't working anymore. They haven't been working. And I was lost for quite a while. I was a very sensitive kid from a very young age. And it's something that I ran away from it. As I got deeper and deeper into my childhood and teenage years, I'm an athlete, or I played multiple sports growing up, and baseball and football, and that's where it kind of really started. Was like, especially when you're an athlete, right? It's not showing any signs of weakness.
Yeah.
Right. Even though, and I would always feel it around others too, but like we were all doing the same thing. We never show like how we were truly feeling. And I kind of really ran away from who I was at my core. And I thought it was a burden. But yeah, I'm realizing now that everything happened for a reason, to teach me that and to rewire myself into who I believe I am.
Yeah.
And
what I hear is that you kind of had to compartmentalize and put away parts of you that didn't fit the system.
Right.
The system is like, I guess what I was referring to in the beginning. There's this like linear way of being a man, and that fits the system. That fits the current paradigm of in the world, in the collective understanding. This is how a man acts. This is what a man does. And we grew up with these ideologies, and at some point, like you said, there comes a time where like we put away a certain versions of us, the one that feels, the one that talks about fragility, or the one that talks about emotions, and we put those away. And maybe even it's suggested, oh, those are only conversations you can have with like your best friends or like your special woman and like, the person in your life. And it's kind of kept it at like a private, intimate conversations. where what we're doing is that we want to bring those intimate private conversations into like a live stream, into like a collective hearing, a collective conversation, a collective space, and where men can talk about these, you know, these concerns.
Yeah.
Really, because when you're not able to express yourself, when you lock away parts of yourself, not only you're doing yourself a disservice, but you're also doing a disservice to the people around you.
Absolutely.
Because you're not operating from your whole self. And it was weakness that we talked about last time, how the moment you feel weakness, there's like this opportunity for fear to come in. And when fear settles in, it's fear that who you are at core won't be accepted. And then you start hiding away or changing new ways or adopting new ways of who to be to, you know,
to fit in.
To fit in.
A container.
And now we're at a time where that spectrum, or like where to fit in, there's like a lack. There's really this deficit of where does a man fit into the world right now? What does a man do? How does a man act? And there's a lot of shame and guilt with that. Like there's this like two ends of the spectrum where it's the extremely masculinized man, and then there's the extremely feminized man. And sometimes I think a lot of people wouldn't fit into the two extremes.
Yeah.
Though because the two extremes are not only idolized, but they're publicized, and they're given a stage, and they're given sort of like these a platform that's like rights of belonging. There used to be times where men would be initiated into being a man, from a boy to a man, and now those initiations have been replaced by these Snapchat or Twitter or, you know, whatever platform is. There's these entities that, you know, show an image of what it means to be either of the two extremes. Here we want to not be the extremes. We want to be the harmony. We want to speak about the divine masculine.
Yep.
And we talked a lot about, I think now, what it means to be a man based on what it means to be a man from even ourselves. We're both 33, so what we've shared so far is like what it's meant for us growing up, what it means to be a man. And there's a lot of differences that we've both experienced in the last 10, 15 years growing up and going through lessons. So let's talk about that. What do you think is the current understanding of a man?
Yeah, so
what does a man say, do? Who is a man? How does a man interact in the world now?
Yeah,
a harmonized man.
For me now, being a man means being able to hold space for others, first and foremost. It's about having awareness around your emotions and, you know, being able to, you know, there is something to be said about being the provider, right? The man is the protector. And I think that's absolutely true since the first day of time. But, you know, I think there's a balance there about taking care of yourself and showing up as the best version of yourself. And that radiates to the people around you, especially your own family. So I think when you are able to heal yourself from the inside out, we talked about those experiences in the past, right? And we compartmentalize a lot. Those things stay in there for years. I mean, we forget about it. Like, oh, have that intimate conversation with a friend or whatever. You know, we get shut down and then we just forget about it or we ignore it. That lingers. And I think like the real work for men now is to look at themselves in the mirror and go through the hard work of identifying what is holding you back and what the root cause of that is too. And the more you do that, you start clearing out your own energy. And that allows you to be more present and aware. But also, that's how you can become the best version of the provider for your own family and for everyone around you, is when you heal yourself first.
Okay, so we're going back to the root of this conversation, which is healing yourself and healing the divine masculine.
Right.
So part of this discussion and all of our ongoing discussions, in its essence, in its core, in its intention, is to heal the divine masculine. And we're being the space or the vehicle, you know, to the vessel to hold those conversations so people can relate to and see where they fit into this. you mentioned earlier you want to, this isn't in your words, but clean your energy, regain your power. Why is it important for us to remember where we stored certain things in our bodies, and why is that important to cleanse ourselves of like past ideologies, and why is that something a man should?
I think in today's day and age, the word energy gets thrown around a lot now. But the truth is, everything around us and we ourselves are made of energy.
Yeah.
And I think it's a concept that is going to continue to evolutionize in the next few years and years to come. But it's important, I think, because we got to start looking at ourselves from a place of worthiness, right? I believe like our bodies, our physical bodies, are divine. Like our bodies are temples.
Yeah.
Right? We have so much more healing power than we're told on the outside. And, as I've gone down my own journey through my own healing work, the alcohol sobriety and going into, Qigong, Tai Chi, that's something I love like diving into, and it keeps me centered, and I try to do it daily. And the heart math and nervous system work, as I've been going through all that, especially last year, were the biggest eye openers about, we're always looking for a quick fix on the outside. I think we're just wired that way. It's no one's fault because that's how it's always been. But now's the time that when things aren't working from that front, it's about to start to look inside and seeing it's like a system.
Yeah.
We're like,
so
the body's an intelligence system. Yeah. Yes. And when you start working with it and you start feeling into your body, start listening to it and what it's saying, you start transmuting, clearing those blockages and energies. And I think like it's important because it helps not only on the physical level, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And that's where like when you clear a lot of that junk up, you start to hear your heart, your intelligence, your intuition.
That's part of our responsibility.
It is your responsibility to...
Part of our own responsibility as a man is to look within and see where was it that we created certain ideologies and, like belief systems about ourselves. And without going too esoteric about it, we're storing those beliefs somewhere in our body, somewhere in our system, whether it's a thought or a physical, emotion involved with that energy. So what you're mentioning and what we're getting to is that one of your initial responsibilities as a man is not to be reactive into the world of what triggers you and what people say that bothers you, but actually slow down at those moments of whatever the trigger is and whatever is like causing you discomfort, just like mentally in that moments, and bring light there by like looking at it and discussing it and bringing it to places like this. This keeps happening. So people say like this keeps happening. They're stuck in a vicious cycle, and it's because that thing that's holding them wants to be released. And the only way it can be released is if you bring awareness to it, if you look at it, if you bring it out of the, put it away kind of situations of, takes us back to what we said. There's all these ideologies about ourselves that we put away, and we only become who we think will be accepted into the world. So it's time to look at who we are and the truth of like what we hid from ourselves, who we are, and all the limiting beliefs that we picked up along the way, because those are the things that's like dimming the light of this vessel, this divine masculine body that we've given. And I think that's a very important topic to talk about too, because there's a separation between the masculine energy and the divine masculine form and man, woman. So there's this, something that we might say may have already triggered some people and like, oh, like they're just being extremists on this side or that side. Just want to be clear that the divine masculine as an energy form exists both in a female and a male body.
Yep.
The male form that, what is this vessel, the male form does harbor the divine masculine energy as its natural state, as its like, more formidable way of being. And the divine feminine is also the guidance that is within. So when we're talking about looking at the wounds or looking at the belief systems, that's when you're accessing the feminine aspect of yourself. You're getting in touch with the core of you. And that's an important thing, because if you're running away from a feminine energy, from a feminine way of being, that's exactly your binoculars, or like your roadmap into seeing where you're hiding from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the divine masculine, going back to that topic, isn't running away from what is showing up, isn't distracting itself of the truth, of whatever their truth is. So I think the divine masculine, in today's understanding, in the current understanding, is someone who isn't afraid to say, I don't know who I am, or I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's, in my understanding, where the divine feminine steps in. The divine feminine, as you know, as we exist with our mother, as grandparents, and just the feminine, the body, the woman in the world, they act as more of a catalyst for seeing yourself, as like they mirror you in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You're given this mirror, they project back to you, and it's a guidance. So how I see it is the divine feminine is a guidance, is like the wisdom to find the least path of resistance, to the seeking the most cleanest path to who you are, and the masculine is the action.
Yeah.
So one is the wayshower, the wayfinder, the wisdom, and the other is the physical, the action into the world, right? Because we have both energy and then we have physical matter.
Mm-hmm.
So how I see it is that the masculine is the matter, is the created, and feminine is the creator, which leads to both together being the creation. So we create with like the divine feminine and the masculine together.
Mm-hmm. You're harmonizing.
Yeah, you're harmonizing.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the right codes, and you're have the limits and the belief systems, then you're not able to bring to the table a full version of yourself. And that's where I think in the world there's this understanding of being a partner, always needing a partner. A lot of people are constantly searching for their partner because they think they are half.
Not complete.
They don't think that they're whole. They think until they have a partner, they're not complete.
Yeah.
What do you think about that discussion of like, men looking for their life partner when in turn they're attracting lessons from,
yeah,
people
it's
in their life?
Fascinating topic, I think, and you're hitting home on everything. You talk about reactive versus proactive living, and that's where I was saying is like living from a proactive state. You talked about that metaphor about, divine masculine, when it's centered in balance, is like you picture like a storm going on, right? There's a storm, and there's a big castle tower up on a hill.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll say that the extreme masculinity, would be in that tower.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, they're protecting themselves,
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be part of the storm. They're sticking to only what they know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got we said the other end of it. It's more of the feminine energy. Maybe they're lost right now. About who they're confused.
Yeah.
And they're blowing with the wind wherever it takes them.
Mm-hmm.
But I see when someone is in their divine masculinity, is being that tree that's in the middle of it all. It has its roots down
Mm-hmm.
in the Mother Gaia, the earth, knows who they are at their core. It can weave
Mm-hmm.
in the
flexibility,
wind,
not fragility,
but it always stays put.
Yeah.
You stay grounded. And that's like, with even like my heart math work, that's what they really teach you, is like that's from communication, decision making, and so forth. When you come from that place of being centered and aligned mentally, emotionally, and spiritually and physically, you are able to tap into that higher intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's amazing. It's like magic. It starts happening for you.
Yeah, because you're trusting.
You start trusting.
You're in
yourself
the trust, surrender, and I guess what you're saying, like with the palm tree example, when you're rooted, when your roots are strong with the divine feminine, with the mother, Mother Gaia, you're connected.
Mm-hmm.
And the palm tree is like swaying in the wind, in the storm, and it's connected with the Father Sky. It's connected with the masculine, with the trust. Like,
Yeah.
it has trust. It has trust that it won't break. It has trust even in the uncertainty of the storm. It's connected with the, with the wisdom of the Father Sky, and it knows that it can handle whatever it takes. So it's like, it's not protecting itself into this castle that it's built, and it's, this identity, this allure, this, who I am in this castle. And he's not living in the shame and the guilt and the fear, running around with like different ideologies of everyday broadcasts of the platform of
they know who they are, no
opposite of being a man.
Right.
So you're acting from both wisdom and feminine, understanding of connection.
Yeah, the wisdom and creative energies combining. And I think the question about guys looking for a partner, I'm 33 and I'm single, but I feel that there's this place of like, there's a state where you don't even realize it, but you're coming from a place of lack. So like, I want this partner. You know what I mean? Like, visualizing is powerful and it's beautiful. I do it all the time. But what I'm discovering is that it's about embodying the energy. So, the feeling of like, I need something outside of myself. That's where you get caught in that vicious cycle, right? But when you come from a place of like, I'm already whole.
Yeah.
That's who I am right now. And like, maybe you have the ideal partner physically and emotionally, maybe spiritually, like you have that role model of who the ideal partner would be. But it's about like almost like tapping into like, I have it already. Like
being it,
because you're like magnetizing that, because like the universe, it responds to what your state is and not like your words. So when you're saying like, I want this, it's like, okay, well, you want this, then you must be in a state of like needing or lack, right? So you'll keep
I guess there's a difference, right? Because I think there's a very subtle and critical difference there. If you're coming from a place of I need X, then what you're signaling to the universe and God, a creator, source, right? You're saying that I'm not enough.
Right.
But if you're saying I want this, then you're saying what you want to grow into, like who you want to become. So the difference is that when we're needing something, we're given a lesson to learn that there's nothing that you need. You're taught gratitude. When you come from need, instead universe teaches you gratitude. But when we're coming from want, the universe shows you how much more you can become. And it's an idea of, instead of acting or pretending to be, what we're wanting, we embody who we're wanting to be. And that embodiment starts with like taking small actions. Let's say if you're someone who lives, somewhere that you don't desire to be, and where you desire to be is to live at the beach. You want to have the $30 million mansion in Malibu, right? That's what you desire, and there's nothing wrong with that desire. It's, if you think the only way to get that is through, deceiving and cheating and creating monetary, circumstances that will tip things into your favor. So then in order to, right, all this in order to, so then you can go do that. What if you start somewhere small? You start going to the farmer's market in Malibu every Friday. Or you take dance classes in Malibu and you meet local friends there, and then you're invited to live in someone's house, and suddenly, you're run into a collaboration with someone, and that collaboration becomes a successful sell within a year. And within a year, now you've made maybe hundreds of millions of dollars, and you can easily afford to have any kind of a lifestyle, versus living 10 years, 20 years, 15 years with a partner, with raising a family, saving up, and like, this dreadful version of what it means to be a masculine that we're talking about, where he's not stepping into the light. He's not looking at the answers of, he's not acting from need and want. He's acting from system, from like, this dogma of acting like what it means to be a man. And in a short sentence, like, growing up, what I was taught when I was raised to be a man is to grow up, get married by the age of like 23, when you're done with college, get a good job, have a wife. As soon as your job is like paying well, get a home, start the first kid, bring the second kid, put them into school, get a higher job, retire, make sure the kids are, living a good life, and then die and leave them these like, assets.
It's like,
That-
like they mapped it out already for you.
Yeah, that was
It's-
it.
Yeah.
And you're constantly in the systems, from the system of education, school, to the subscribing to then health systems and work systems and travel systems. And it's like all these perfect avenues where if you don't want to act from awareness and consciousness, if you're not wanting to be an entrepreneur, really, like this is how I see being an entrepreneur. Quite frankly, this might be a big sentence, but I think to be an entrepreneur, it means to be a divine masculine. Because as an entrepreneur, you're always listening to what is the least path of resistance. What is how am I, your team, your employees, the people who work for you, they're almost like your children. You're responsible for them.
Right.
And you're acting from this place of responsibility, and you're listening to the universe of like how to best take care of them, taking care of the company. So it's not like, how do I create a company that is extremely successful and does X and Y and Z? It's like, what do we do in this company that then provides the needs of the team, right? They came with a certain want. Their want was to be a contribution in whatever it is that you're creating. And at the same time, their wants are to be provided for and with their families and with their lifestyle. So an entrepreneur is like the highest form of like acting from a divine masculine, where not only for being responsible for your own family, you're responsible for multiple families, and even your products and the things that you're creating, it's having an imprint and an effect. So it really just goes very deep. When you're really, truly, in a rudimentary way, acting from a divine masculine, I think you're what do you call it? Like a system breaker. You're a abrupter. What's the word we use for? You're not
Rebel.
a destroyer, a rebel. You're a rebel. Yeah. You're changing the system. So in a way, being a divine masculine is like being a rebel. It's like being stubborn in your intuition and your gut of like
asking
who you
deeper
are.
questions about where you are and where do you want to be.
Yeah.
Passion. People ignore passion, man, and it's this is something I've had to learn. I mean, 10 years in business, and but I'm finding that like my real light comes from like when I'm creating things or starting things that light me up inside.
Exactly.
And are helping others too.
And I think this actually brings us to the second topic, which was what is to heal the masculine, like, right?
Well, the next one is, where have you experienced wounds or limiting beliefs around masculinity?
We can definitely go there. What was the third topic?
What parts of you are asking to be healed, reclaimed, or integrated?
I see. So we're kind of like dabbling into both of them.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about do you remember this concept we talked about of the core wounds? Of like the core wounds that happens to you as a child. It's like, certain things that you make up about.
Yeah, your own self. And
yeah. Do you remember what your core wounds were, or how
my core wound was, I'm not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it goes back from an early age too. And, because we all had that like childlike, when we're born, we have that childlike divine energy already.
Yeah, the wonder.
The curiosity. And there's so much creativity that flows out. And then like, it's funny, like the time, once you start going into like the system, right? Like school and then organized things and structure, that's where it really started I started like keeping myself small. Because, I think there was a certain point where I was that free spirit, and I always have been,
Can you talk a little about, like, without going too in detail, I know it's personal information as much as you want to share, like, can you go into a little detail of like what happened or what idea you created and then how it started to influence you? So what was it that made you think that you're not enough? And then how did that become that vicious cycle, right? Once you go into school and once you go into higher, more open public spaces, that became a narrative that was like in your way.
I think, I always had the intention of like, I want to just bring light, love, and joy into the world. And I think when I was growing up, over time, it just got deeper and deeper, but like being thrown in containers, I really didn't feel comfortable with or whatever. But I think like when I was stripped away of using like who I actually was. Like I talked about sensitivity, you know, and I remember when I was like, for example, 9/11, I was 8 years old. I took that hit me really hard. It was like more, you know, I remember being like after it, I was like crying in my room for a couple of days straight because I felt sorrow for, I remember feeling sorrow for the kids that lost their parents in the towers and the tragedies that happened. I had to go see a shrink at that age to talk about it. And
because you're from New York, so you knew.
well, I'm from Cleveland,
Cleveland.
but I had relatives that are and friends that were in New York that were close by there too. So it did hit home, and
you had a close encounter with it. And
yeah, I think that's really when the first time I think about this, that I woke up to the world that it wasn't the place I thought it was. Like
this idea of humanity and like kindness was stripped away.
Yes, like,
and now all of a sudden it was like a cold place to be.
It was almost like survival stepped in, right? Like survival mode starts creeping up into you, and you know, I think like because of that, and because I was really into like, I felt a lot of things when I was younger, but then like as I got into more sports and just deeper along my, you know, especially in the teenage years, I ran away. I was ashamed of it.
So how did this not being enough come to like show up in the world when you're playing sports or when you're in college?
And it's stuff I realize like now. So it's like you look back and realize like I think sports were like my outlet. Those were my joys. Like I played baseball as my number one. It still is. And played football too. And I think, but even my performance, like I got in my own way. I got in my own way.
How are you getting in your way?
Because I would, even when, I remember I like worked my way up in baseball. By the time I was like 13 or 14 years old, I got onto this big time travel baseball team. It was like a big deal for me, you know? And I remember that first year, I was like one of the smaller kids too, but I was a pitcher, but I like caught fire with that team first because I was just playing from the sense of joy and passion for the game.
Yeah.
But once that year of success happened, it's like all the pressure started to mount, right? The expectations, the people, like there's different factors that come into play. And I felt like I wasn't built for it at that moment. I was lacking the self-confidence and trust in myself.
Yeah, because you're thinking you're not enough. And
I was not enough, and it would actually alter my performance. And it's like you almost get in your own head too much.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to even make it to the college level for baseball for a couple of years, but you know, it's funny, you know, I hung the cleats up after my sophomore year in college, and that's when I really started going down like a darker rabbit hole, you know, once baseball was out of my life in college, like I lost my sense of identity.
Yeah, because you didn't have an outlet to hang your hat back on, like, this is who I am.
Exactly. So that's
now you had to like go into the core of like, okay, who's Brandon at the core?
Yeah, and it took years.
If it's not this.
I used alcohol. I would run away from, I was trying to fit into people and places, containers that I just wanted to be seen and heard. And like, that was a wound of mine.
You want to be seen and heard because, you know, there's a part of you that truly believes you are enough, that you are beautiful, you are worthy. And it wants to prove to you, you know, like you want to prove externally, but you want to prove to yourself that you are enough. Yeah. And it was very similar for me. Like my core wound at like age of 3 or 4, it led me to a place of thinking that there's something wrong with me, that I have to change myself. Yep. So I had to like literally create a different version of myself that would have been parallel to the desire that my parents, you know, put on who I should be. Yeah. And coupled with then growing up and seeing, okay, now there's this other desire of who you should be in the world. It's like, okay, now I created who I think I am. Then I created who I think my parents are. Then I created who I think the people in school and in the public world, in the public arena think I am. And it was like working between all of these different identities of who I am to have an anchor of like finding myself. And it drove me to, you know, like you said, as a kid, I always also wanted to create a nurturing space. I always wanted to create a, you know, well-being in people. I think one of the first things I remember is that why do people think they have to do that? Like I would think about like
feeling.
if you could just be, like going back to the childless wonder and like, the simplicity is that if we just didn't think that way about each other, if we just didn't think that we need to compete with each other, if we just didn't believe that there's a finite amount of resources or stages or opportunities or whatever it is, then we wouldn't think that we need to like climb on top of the next person to have it.
Right.
So I always really just at the core of it, even as a 4 or 5-year-old, just wanted people to be happy. So then they can treat other people with happiness, with kindness, and create like this, nurturing space.
Mm-hmm.
And I always was drawn to being an architect. I was always drawn to creating a space that, creates a nurturing space for you. And instead of doing that, I went to medicine. I decided to be a plastic surgeon, and I decided that if people accept themselves for who they look like, I went on the very physical first. Yeah. From like, if you can just love yourself on your physical, I thought if they just love themselves there, then they'll love themselves internally and then love the people outside of them and create a harmonious space. Then I quickly realized that that doesn't really work. So I went from like wanting to be a plastic surgeon to wanting to be a physician or a psychologist. So it went from like sort of the physical to the psyche. And while I was there, I saw that that was all in order to as well. It was parts of myself that I wasn't thinking I was beautiful. It was parts of myself that I was thinking there's something wrong with me or I need a shrink. And I wanted to be the shrink and I wanted to be the plastic surgeon to then, fix myself. But putting myself in those positions, embodying those in a way made me realize that's a false way of being. And man, it's funny, the moment I accepted that I am beautiful and I don't need to go be a plastic surgeon, 4 hours later, I get recruited to a very big modeling agency in Los Angeles, Wilhelmina, to be a model with them. And I signed a contract within weeks because now I didn't have an outlet of like who I am, right? I'm no longer going to medical school to be a plastic surgeon, and modeling and acting in that world and feeling beautiful or that like stage of being seen and heard on or being given value to was in a way healing my wounds.
Yeah.
Though I realized even then, when I'm getting this external praise for how I look like, it's actually making me sicker to my stomach because there are things inside that I'm not addressing, like emotional wounds, that I feel very ugly about, that I feel like I still need to change myself. But now I'm getting this admiration from the external for how I look like, and all I want for them is to not think the external looking good, right? Because I graduated from that,
dude.
I graduated from thinking looking beautiful means being a good person, and so I had to stop, and I stopped right away, like as soon as I could, I pulled myself out of that world. And it was right in time to go to architecture school at USC with a full ride. So there was this momentum where life was giving me something a vehicle to be driving on to then see my truth, like have a mirror, see my truth in it. And as soon as I would see the truth, it would be like a smoke mirror. It would like disappear because I would surrender, would like drop it and realize how much it's in my way. And then a new thing would come out and emerge. And this new thing would drive me for some point. And that's actually our recent development to, creating this channel now. Because for about 13 years, I thought I created myself, my identity as an architect. I'm this architect and creating these like spaces on the external. And the moment I realized that I am safe and no longer need to create safe space externally is when I realized even being an architect was another vehicle, another vessel to even show me deeper that even choosing myself as an architect, there's one thing to be an architect and have that career to serve in that, and it's another to be an architect as an in order to.
Yeah.
So dropping that identity, it's brought me to this new spectrum of like, all right, who am I now? And what am I?
It's like a fresh start.
It's a fresh start, and it's perfectly, leeway into like what we're creating here, a fresh start.
Absolutely.
To be masculine. So it's not all these like ideas and identities that we attach on ourselves, and we go out into the world to like be that identity. It's more like now slowing down and trusting and even in the uncertainty of like what it is, still having trust, like like we said with the palm tree, trusting that you will not break, that you will be provided for.
You are getting what you need
yeah
right now. So even if it's negative, like you got to work through something too. And that's a lot of like, I love everything you said. And I think going back to my like story about the teenage years and the sports and stuff, like it was my outlet. And at the same time though, like, cause I lacked that self-trust and that self-confidence, I was an easy target for sure. I mean, I felt bad, like when I even got picked on, like even fighting back, because I even at an early age, it like demoralized me for sure.
You're not enough to stand up for yourself.
Not enough to stand up for myself. And I think like that was one of the most valuable life lessons I've discovered now, is like looking back on the journey and the people, or like the people that hurt you or made you feel bad. I think like bullying is an epidemic right now, and it's something that I'm really trying to get more involved in, is for sure. But I think like my understanding of it is that was all part of the plan too. And I think like that taught me a lot of these lessons that I'm learning now about, even like at the young age of kids and young adulthood. You don't know who you are, and there's insecurities and there's conditions that they don't even know, and they're struggling from the inside. And I think like bullying is coming from a place of lack too, and like insecurity. So it's more about like them feeling insecure than anything, and I just didn't know how to handle it.
You're only a target for the bullying, for whatever it is that you're externalizing. That then the bully feels like they need to hurt you, so you hide it because they had to hide it.
Right. Exactly. And so we talked about Dharma too, and our journeys, and like what led me to here, and out of all the turbulence throughout my journey, like I could sit here and confidently say that I don't regret one single thing of it. I think everything happened for a reason, and I have compassion for the people that I had a hard time with. I really do. And I think coming from that place of like everything like that was like my training. I had to go through those hard times to learn what it means to actually be the highest version of a man in today's world. I wouldn't have had this experience, or this, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about this wisdom if I didn't go through that experience. So I'm grateful for that. And that's why I encourage people that are listening to look at things on a much bigger picture of what's happening to you.
Us being here, quite literally having this conversation, and is what we were sharing in the beginning about what it means for Divine Masculine to sit down and look at the shadows, look at the parts of ourselves that we're hiding. So this conversation in itself is a demonstration of that in action, where we're putting it out there. Like we're not hiding or running away from this, these versions that had to exist in order for us to be here right now so we can talk about them. And this talking about them is creating that opening for a new identity to emerge. When you're created the space of release, when you've let go of who you think you are, then there's an opportunity to create a new understanding, a new belief of who you are. And these conversations are quite literally to lead to an understanding, a fresh understanding of who we believe we are as a masculine in the world, and acting from that place.
Serving as a catalyst, right? A catalyst to curiosity about yourself and the world around you. And that's what we're trying to do, is spark that curiosity. And it's deep and powerful work. And I think like the third prompt is about like what parts are you going to integrate into this. And I think like what we're doing now speaks to about that taking action, and how are you going to step forward in this new identity that you're building. And I think like that voice, what I was telling you, like just being seen and heard from a young age, and that joy, I feel that inner child in myself, like coming back to being fully alive. And it's like re-engaging and understanding like that my 10-year-old Brendan's still you. And I'm tapping back into him, and it's like, now it's like a whole new perspective. And using my voice now from everything I've learned when it was silenced over the years, but using it to amplify wisdom and truth to help other people. And I think like not being afraid and overcoming that fear of being judged, looked at in a different way. It's stuff we talked about before we brought this on, but you know what? I think like what I want people to take away from us doing this is like walking your truth and don't let fear hold you back from what you truly want, you truly desire, and what you want. And I think when you get over that barrier of the fear of perceiving like what people think around you or things, the whole game itself, the game of life changes for you.
Yeah.
In a drastic fashion for the best.
Man, this is kind of off topic, but I had a vision while you were saying that. I had a vision of son and a father, like together watching this show. Because we were talking earlier about like what would be the appropriate audience, like, for this kind of a thing. And of course, someone in their 20s, in their 30s, 40s can relate with this. But I just thought how beautiful it would be for a father with their kid to sit down and like, watch this and then have a discussion together. Like, hey, 8-year-old son or 5-year-old son or 12-year-old son, what do you think in this? Like, what is showing up for you?
Yeah.
Or having even the prompts that we talk about, that the main discussion points, it would be interesting if they're even going into a monologue together and like having a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, that's you sitting down with a 9-year-old Brandon.
Right.
Like what I'm imagining right now is that the 8-year-old, 9-year-old Arutin is sitting right here, and the 9-year-old Brandon is like sitting right here, and they're like excited that we're having this conversation and like creating a nurturing space for them to exist in without fear, shame, guilt of having to be anything that they're not or anything extra that they think they are.
Mm-hmm.
Just be authentically yourself,
Yep.
And I mean, that's such a big jargon too. Like, what does it mean to be authentically yourself? And talking about what is it that we're healing, or what is it that we're integrating or taking away and adding to this understanding of the divine masculine. It's really being in conversation with yourself and with your surrounding of what's showing up, and how to not think like there's something to hide about yourself that's showing up, or put it into another hat that already exists.
Right.
Like being curious in what shows up, instead of like rushing to put like, oh, A goes here, B goes here, square goes here, triangle goes here, and like,
or yeah, this doesn't feel good, let me find something else on the outside. It's like your body's telling you it's a signal.
Yeah.
It's a signal, and you start paying attention, presence, and paying attention to what you're feeling in your surroundings. And it's like the more you kind of go with that rhetoric of like, be present, pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
The awareness is such a key.
Yeah. So that's the healing that I'm taking away, is the presence and the awareness to be in the observation and curiosity, to being curious in observation of what's showing up. And instead of compartmentalizing things into like already existing notions, learning something new from, who you're being.
Yep.
And I think that way of being a divine masculine, which is present to what it shows up instead of protective to what it shows up. Right? You're present, you receive it, you understand it, instead of protect from it and like, be a man in a castle hiding away from what's showing up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Being in the element, right? But still holding stable.
Yeah.
In your own self. So this is
You think we've talked enough about the divine masculine and the mission, what we're doing with the Rudigent?
Yeah, I think so. I think viewers, listeners are getting an understanding of why we're doing this. And I think, listen, we're a group of friends that are bringing light some of our shared experience and wisdom that we're ultimately just trying to help others that are on this journey, that where we were too. And that the messages they're not alone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of struggle going on, and I work in the mental health industry, the last couple of years, and this is something that really, it's been the most humbling experience of my life so far is really seeing the need
Yeah.
for change.
Yeah.
And we want to be that pillar and that bridge for change.
Yeah.
And just holding these real conversations and showing our vulnerability, I think it's something that we are going to continue to cultivate. But the beautiful thing is this is just the beginning, and I think it was a great way to lead off.
This is just the beginning, and as always, we're very welcome to your feedback and comments, and if there's anything that we've said that you want us to go deeper on, or
at least
there's something that you want us to bring into the table and have a live discussion, that's something that we can do too. Feel free to leave comments and give us feedback and let us know.
Yep.
We definitely appreciate subscriptions.
Yeah. So we're just getting started, but even you guys just being here and listening, we really appreciate that and holding space. And we're excited for more to come. So thank you for sitting down with us, and
keep in touch with us.
Yes.
We're going to be posting these on a regular basis. So do subscribe, do like and comment, and get in touch with us. And we would love to bring people on a live discussion with us, whether it's on computer or inviting them around the round table.
Yep.
So we're open to however you see that you want this to mold.
Yeah, we're very open.
Yep.
'Cause it's for you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining. Until next time.